Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Faizah Mooney and this is going to be part 12 of the X-Files. Bismillah. Now, this is this is the last part of the series. 13 is really going to be an overview. So it feels a little bittersweet. So let's start. I had a vision that told me to start creating content. In this example, comedy. But of course I knew that starting to create content wasn't going to happen, or have results rather, overnight. Okay, there's just no way that was going to happen. Even if I had a vision and I was being shown what to do, I still felt very, very, very depressed at the realization of how much time it was going to get there. I mean, you have to imagine sitting in a position where you're wronged by so many people, then having to sit under the same roof as a person, having them have access to you in that sense, and then having to heal through trauma, PTSD, depression. So naturally, I fell into a little bit of a depression. I felt not only betrayed by the family that didn't come to help when they had every ability to do it, because I felt like I would do it for you. You wouldn't even have to ask once at all. I would hear your situation. I would offer it myself. But that was always one of the biggest mistakes that I used to make, falling into the habit of believing that everyone else was going to react and respond the same way I was. Like, I would do that, therefore they would. Well, I would show up in this way, therefore they would. No, that's not how things are. Nobody is you. You are no one else. And just because your intention may be one thing doesn't mean another person's is going to be the same. And I would constantly hurt and break my own heart because of that, because I expected people to react the same way I would, to have the same intentions I had. And that's not logical. You can hope, as I hope for all of you, that in time you find your tribe, right? People who will be there for you in that way, and you are there for them in the same ways. You have to find your tribe, right? It doesn't always happen, and it doesn't always start in your home. So I fell into a bit of a depression because I felt betrayed by the people who could help me. But then I also felt betrayed by my mom and dad. I would have loved to have a better understanding of credit, of budgeting, of money, of what it meant to do that as a woman. Not waiting to get married and have your man explain those things to you, and have your husband tell you how to manage money and how to do this and how to do that. I didn't want that. And I felt stripped of that understanding and that clarity because I was being so prepared to get that in the next step, which included having a kebab in my life. I didn't want to feel like I needed to have a man to have those skills. And it shouldn't have been that I needed to have a man or let a man teach those things to you. It should have been taught to me, to be taught independence, what it really means to be independent, right? That it felt like I had been stripped of that, and I was very angry. Constant back and forth of feeling very empowered, but then reality would hit and it would sink me down to the bottom all over again. Just felt like, the living situation felt like another form of captivity. Period. Every morning, every time I looked out the window, heard a car drive up the driveway, it was all re-traumatizing over and over and over. It was very difficult to heal in that type of environment. Very, very difficult. I cannot stress this enough. It was very difficult because everything had a memory. And after heartbreak, that happens naturally anyway. Certain places, time of the day, certain songs, certain moments, right? The way the sun might come into a room, or the way it's cloudy at a certain time might remind you of something you guys went through in an argument you had, or a tender moment that you shared. So imagine having to be in the place that you shared memories with that individual, and now having to walk through different rooms and different places with those memories attached to all of it. It was very difficult. So I fell into depression about it because I felt very helpless. Very, very helpless. I felt like, thank you, God, for showing me what I have to do, but that's going to take a lot of time, and I need to get out of here now. So I didn't feel prepared for my survival. I really didn't. And so I felt like that this resentment and anger towards my dad, Allah yarhamu, my dead dad. I felt a lot and that's the hardest part, to feel anger towards somebody you can't have an argument with. You have to go to a grave and just say, gosh, I wish you would have given me the tools I needed to do better, to be better in life, and it's a, I wasn't taught how to Here's how to have a life by yourself. Here's how to be independent. And I resented my father, and I resented my mom. I resented my culture. I resented anybody who had that same perspective. I resented them because I felt like you are part of a mentality that stripped me of a life I didn't get to have and tools and skills I really needed. It felt like when it mattered most, when I decided to choose myself, I wasn't given the skills and the tools I needed to be prepared for that next step at all. I didn't have the financial, emotional, or logistical tools to move forward. And it just feels very isolating, especially because of the circumstances at that time. So again, I fell into a depression. Money became number one priority. Number one priority because with money, I could build my credit, I can build my resources, and I can build a chance to get out, right? That was my goal. Money, money, money. My breathing room was given through the pills because every time I was feeling sad or overwhelmed or anything, the pills were there to be like, hey, I'll lift you out of this and I can help you numb all the pain. And that helped. It helped a lot when it was too overwhelming for me. Even if I was feeling sad or I was down or feeling overwhelmed, the pills were like, no, you're not. You're fine. Keep on moving. The only thing that it did was you can keep on moving, but in what direction are you going? Right? That was another one where, sure, the pills helped with keeping the emotions in check, but there was no direction for the individual at all. Like, okay, now you're not sad anymore, but what are you doing with what you're feeling now? And it's like, I don't know, because I don't have the energy to do anything other than just exist in this moment, in this chair or at this table or wherever I'm at that moment. It's not really life either, right? That's not really a life either. So when I ran out of my pills and I needed the refill, and these are not pills you could just get off of, right? You need to wean your way off the medication. Here I am now with having no choice but to get off of it. If you haven't watched the previous parts, please watch. I did not have health insurance, so I did not have any ability to afford paying for the medication anymore. It was terrible. It was terrible. I wouldn't ever want to relive that time in my life ever. Ever. It was terrible. My mom and I fought all the time. And then so many things were happening with Pan and his family, instigating problems with us living there, that it just made it even harder because I didn't have the pills to keep me numb anymore and to, no, you're fine, just relax. No, everything's good. Nope, didn't have that anymore. Now I had to feel the sadness. Now I had to feel the loss and the grief and the anger and the resentment and the hate. I had to feel all of it. And it was very hard. Very, very hard, especially when you're not used to feeling those types of emotions to begin with. You numb those emotions. You keep yourself a little bit more detached from them because feeling too deeply is a weakness. And here I was feeling these emotions and feeling weak. So I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, everybody's right. Having these types of emotions doesn't make you strong. It makes you weak because I'm feeling overwhelmed. This does not feel good at all. It was a terrible transition. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And if you are going through that or if you've ever been through it, I understand. Alhamdulillah for them, because I don't know if I would have been able to survive if it wasn't for them. Okay, so I'm putting that out there. But you're just not yourself. I was not myself. And yet again, what am I being told? Create, create, create. I know you're sad, but create. I know you're angry, but create. I know you're feeling overwhelmed, but this is the time to create. And so I put up my camera and I started recording comedy skits.
Yeah, I decided she wasn't decent enough for me, like I need a decent woman, and I bet she wasn't even a virgin. Do you want to go to the strip club after this and then we can go gamble and then, excuse me, hey, can I have another whiskey, please? After, let's go pray.
And I actually feel sorry for him because I think to myself sometimes, like, how miserable he's gonna be, because that was the best thing he ever had.
Who's that? Oh, it's just Stacy.
Yeah, you think I don't know who Stacy is. I know everything about Stacy, where she lives, what kind of car she drives, her Facebook, her Instagram, her Twitter, her twatter.
I don't even need to be there, because I know you're taking this with class and grace and just that beautiful poise.
So you'll never believe this, but I found one of his pieces of hair on my sweater, and I'm thinking I should really call and give it back to him, because it's not like he had much to begin with, you know what I mean?
What are you doing this?
I love him, and he asked me to marry him, and we've been dating for so long. I cannot believe that you're doing this to us.
Is this
On your head?
What's what?
On your head? Above, stupid, on the top.
Oh, but
What's
this is
this?
my hair. Can you
That's
not
your hair?
distract me like that when I'm driving?
I would go home with hair like this. When you get hair like this, like big monster. Who's texting?
I was just laughing at a post on Instagram.
Let me see.
I couldn't always put like a beard on because I have very bad eczema. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to create a mother character that's very similar to the way that my dad was. And I'll do a mom sketch showing an inside look into what it's like growing up Musrab, all right, growing up with an Arab parent.
Why you close your computer like that?
It's not working.
Open it. I wouldn't really worry about it. I used to be technician for the kitchen.
Okay.
Open it.
Oh well, oh well, oh well. Sure. You're not saying oh well. Just stop saying oh well. Listen, 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 listen. I know the song for the Christmas time. They're saying Noel. 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 Who is this Noel? I don't know. They're not saying oh well though. I was not born in this country, but I live in this country forever. Why is this becoming an autobiography? Just Noel. It's Noel.
I really opened the door and gave people a look into the other side of what it meant to be Muslim Arab. It found a way to bridge that gap and to get people together laughing about the things that we can all relate to. And that was a very great power. Of course, it didn't take off immediately. It didn't have that immediate reaction like my blog. It took its time, but there were still people engaging with the work. And that felt so validating because I'm like, wow, there are people who can understand what this is like. The more we laughed about it, the more people were having a conversation about the subjects. Even if it was 5 people in the comment section, it was still 5 people having a conversation about like, well, why are our parents like that? And why don't we get to choose who our partner is, or the career we want to go into, or if we want to make mistakes? Why aren't we allowed to do that? That's true. I never thought about it that way. Or why do the men get away with XYZ and the women never could? Right? So it opened up a door for so many conversations that really needed to be had. Really. And I immediately fell in love. I fell in love with it. I'm like, that's my adrenaline rush. I felt like for the first time in a long time, even though there was not much engagement yet. I want to make that very clear. There was no me posting and everybody started coming to the page and it was an immediate, reaction. No. But whoever was there, and some of you might be watching this right now who were here from the very beginning. And at that point in my journey, it felt like I found something that not only was I good at, but that I could feel empowered in, that I could find my voice in. And I hadn't felt that way since writing my blog and starting it years ago. So you can only imagine how thrilling it was to feel like I had something that was mine, that I could do, and I could bring a change through that avenue. And that felt amazing. That felt amazing. It also felt amazing to know or to feel, because at this time I was very vengeful towards Pan. I'm like, I hope you're seeing it, and I hope you see how people are laughing at what I'm putting, because Pan never thought it was funny. Whenever I would make certain jokes, especially many of the videos I ended up later making, he would always say to me, like, that's not funny. Who thinks that's funny? You're weird. What kind of mind do you have? Why does your brain work that way? And so I always felt like, well, I think it's funny, or I think it's entertaining to have that question, or to think this or to think that. And so as I'm having those reactions, I felt like, well, they think I'm funny, stupid, That was my mentality, because I felt like I wanted to prove him wrong, right? And I felt I was doing that in a lot of ways with the avenues I was using. The social media platforms I was on at this point was Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. All right, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Some of you might remember my Facebook page. Unfortunately, my Facebook page would, years later, which we're not going to get into that all here, but years later, my Facebook page was sadly, almost had 1 million followers on that page. And that page was removed by the Haram police, who don't have any power, who have no power in the social media realm at all. But they were able to get my page with close to 1 million followers completely removed, as if it never existed. Right. It's like my website. If you haven't watched part 1 of the X-Files, I would go watch it. Right, there's going to be a little inconsistency with the way that I look. Hello, this is me editing. And as I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want to flush more. Being on social media showed me that pan drama had just transition to community drama on social media. Being ostracized in the community made me feel like, I was prepared in a sense for what social media had with the way that the Muslim, especially at that time, every day was a problem. A bad role model, a bad image, a bad Arab, a bad Palestinian, a bad Muslim, a bad woman, a bad daughter. Like, oh gosh, every single day, every day, there was no escape from it. I realized pretty early on that your intentions do not matter on social media at all. Nobody cares about your intentions. They care about what they believe to be true, period. Allah knew what he was doing because the more that I posted, the more empowered I felt. So much so that I got an invitation to go to a housewarming party. And although normally I wouldn't have gone, I went. Started feeling little bits of myself coming back to life, to who I can recognize. And my gosh, that felt so nice. It felt so nice to feel so distant from yourself, but then start feeling like, oh, I recognize that. And oh yeah, I'm capable of laughing really genuinely. I don't have to fake it. There's laughter in my soul. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Truly, or that I was even capable of laughing, smiling, being happy, being present. Again, even looking back, years later, I can still remember the parts of me coming back, the feeling of sitting in my room and just laughing genuinely at a joke that I remembered and being like, oh my gosh, I remember what it was like to laugh, to really have a real laugh where your stomach hurts. And you're like, my God, my soul feels relief because I actually felt something deeply and I allowed myself to express it wholly, vulnerably, truly, right? No faking. And those were beautiful moments. I went to this party. There were several people there that I remembered, and it was a little bit of an adjustment to see people again, to really see people after something so chaotic. I didn't even care that my dad's family was there, like a bunch of snakes. I was like, oh, that's fine. Who cares? I'm just going to focus on myself and have a good time. And I did. And it always seems like it's at those moments that people see that you're doing good, that they try to come rain on your parade. That moment for me was when 2 snakes from my dad's family had one of the girls, we'll call her Musty Puss. MP for short. So Musty Puss and her mother, who we'll call Musty. Musty. So Musty Puss, she says, Faiza, could you come here? I walk over and she says, what were we just saying about Faiza's body? And her mom, Musty, was like, yes, Faiza, we were just saying you have a beautiful body. And MP says to me, she says, would you mind training me, like helping me get trained so I can have a body like that? Now, of course, if I knew what I later found out, I would have replied to her, honey, you'll never have a body like that because it takes genetics you don't have. But at that time, I said, sure, of course. Oh my God, I'd be honored. I was so flattered by it, especially because I wanted so much acceptance from my dad's family. So much acceptance. Not just by my dad's family, by Arabs, by the Muslim community. I wanted that acceptance. MP was on a mission because she wanted to meet the very next day to work out. So we go to the gym. I'm working out. Musty Puss? Not so much, right? What was MP doing? MP is sitting there talking to me about her boyfriend. Now, I'm listening to her talk, waiting for her to ask me for some piece of advice or something, right? Because she's going on and on and on, and I'm just waiting, like, where's the question? There was no question. There were no questions at all. MP just wanted to vent. Venting and venting and venting and venting about everything that was going on. And that's what I'm believing. I'm like, okay, she just wants to get this off her chest. Get it off your chest, honey. I understand what that's like. And she was much younger than me. At this point, you're thinking this is family, even if they're a bunch of snakes. This is still blood. Look out for the person. Make sure that they're okay. And then send them on their way, right? Things were starting to somewhat align, right? I'm still creating on social media. People are starting to like my work. Things just started to seem like they were moving forward. And then we got hit with a really bad storm here in Chicago. And the storm just blew out power lines uprooted trees. And one of the trees that was uprooted was the one that was right outside Pan's family's building. And it fell right on top of my car. It was crazy. It didn't even feel real at all. At all. And I still remember looking at the tree like, can my luck just get better here? Like, can we just stop with the test already? I think I'm tested out already. Alhamdulillah, I had insurance. So the insurance covers the cost of the car through that journey, getting the car fixed. But all the while, what am I doing? Creating content. Anything that happened in my life, even the tree, I still found a way to find content from it, make content out of it. It's really sad that a lot of the content that I posted and a lot of the videos that I posted at that time just got removed by the Haram police. Because if you saw it, and I just sadly didn't have a lot of things saved, there was never anything offensive about those videos. There was never anything offensive said about anybody that they should have removed them. So, but there was a funny video that I had once where like I was like, when you're having a great day and then you come out and you see that your car is covered under like a tree fell on top of your car. So I just kept recording, posting content. And alhamdulillah, my following started growing. And it was so exciting because I didn't feel alone anymore. I didn't feel like I stood there by myself anymore. I stood there with an army. It wasn't a very large army yet, but it was an army. And I wanted nothing more than for Pan to see me loved and adored, and for other people to see me in the way he never could and never would. And to appreciate me, not to bring shame and to talk down at me, people who truly saw and supported me. I wanted him to see that. I wanted him to see every single day what he would never have again. And as I'm posting, people started noticing. One of the people to notice was the Steve Harvey show. I got interviewed for a segment they were going to be doing called Faith Over Fear. You have no idea what I felt at that moment. The interview goes impeccably, okay? Of course. And I was convinced I was going to get the job 100%. I get a call a little while later, same day, by the same producer who was telling me that they had spoken to one of the Muslims on the board. I'm not going to say which one. And they had said that they didn't want me to be representing the Muslim community. Now, of course, I knew why. And I said, can you just give me like 1 minute? Don't close the door just yet. Just give me a minute. I know this individual. I just wanted to talk first. I think there's just some misunderstanding. They say to me, they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I have to remember at this time, I was unfiltered, but the type of unfiltered that is like reckless, which is very dangerous. I learned that much later on, that has to be reeled in. Gosh, I actually feel badly for anybody on the receiving end of me when I was not in control of my dark side. I went and I got the number for this individual. And I called them. And I said, Salaam alaikum. And he said, oh, alaikum salam. Oh, it's so nice to hear from you. And I'm thinking, oh, shut up. I say, I heard that you told so-and-so at the Steve Harvey and the rest of the producers that you don't want me to be representing the Muslim community. He says, no, sister, no, it's not like that. I just jumped in. I didn't even let him finish. I said, yeah, I hope not, because that would be very un-Islamic, especially as a sheikh. You're a representation of this community of the faith. I said, you're the one who's supposed to be teaching the Muslim community what truth is and that only Allah knows a person's intentions. And here you are judging me. You know what the sheikh said? He said, astaghfirullah. And he said, you know what, sister, you're right. I'm sorry. You're 100% right. Let me call this producer right now. Subhanallah, you guys, subhanallah. He calls the producers, tells them we would be honored if Faiza was part of it. And I got the job. Just goes to show, even a sheikh can have a moment. Even he can be momentarily judgmental. But if somebody calls him out, if somebody holds a mirror up and says the truth, well, then he has no choice but to stand by truth. If he's truly working for God. If he's working for the shaitan, he'll let it go. He'll argue it. But he didn't do that. You stood by truth. So I get the call back that I got the job. My job was to be the voice for the Muslim community, showing the beautiful side of what it means to be Muslim and to be part of the Muslim community. There would be a non-Muslim girl that would come in, that her and I would spend the day together, take her into the community to show her the beauty behind it. How salat, prayer goes, how the community engages with each other, how we really are, okay, behind closed doors. What a test. What a test from Allah, subhanallah, what a test. Because at this point, I didn't have a very good relationship or connection with the Muslim community. I saw so many faults with the Muslim community. And there I was having to show the beautiful side of it when I wasn't sure if that even existed. Like, I'm very aware Islam is perfect, but very aware that Muslims are not. And it was Muslims who had done all of the hurt to me. And now here was Allah, God, saying, well, now you have this opportunity and I want you to speak on their behalf. All the people here, they may not have been necessarily the ones who hurt you, the ones who did this, but you are going to have to speak on behalf of this community that you're also aware has its problems, very similar. And you're going to have to talk about how beautiful it is and how amazing the people are and how supportive they are of one another and how we stand by each other. Do we? Do we really? What came to me over and over and over again is it's not everyone. There's so much good and you have to show the good. You cannot be like them. You can't do it. So in December of 2016, I met Amy. Hi, Amy, if you're watching this. I met Amy, and Amy came. I took her into the Muslim community, gave her a first-hand look into what life was really like for Muslims. And the episode was called Faith Over Fear, A Day with Faiza. Ooh! I was so excited. I felt so validated. I felt like, wow. For a first shoot like that, it was a beautiful time. The outcasted whore, half-breed, trash, like they would call me, right? Dirty blood, was the one who was showing the beauty behind what it really meant to be Muslim and to live in a Muslim community. It was a beautiful, beautiful feeling. I will never forget it. And the truth to how God can take control in a second. I wanted nothing more than for it to come out and for Pan to see, look what I did. But like all creative projects, it needed its time, right? So it didn't come out for a while. And in that time that I was waiting, I kept creating content. I was posting every single day. You can only imagine how many posts have been removed and how sad it feels to have lost years of work because of the fucking haram police. But I had posted every single day at a point, every single day in 2016. Okay, so posting. It started taking off, like my blog. It took some time, but when it took off, it took off. And I find my followers start increasing. And I still remember the first point that I was like, wow, was when I hit 25,000 followers. And I'm like, oh my God, 25,000 followers, 25,000 people here. I remember feeling that sense of accomplishment and feeling so happy and wishing that I could share it with Pan. I know. Breathe through it, girlfriend. Relax, okay? I told you guys I'd be honest what I was feeling. That's what I was feeling. I'm like, oh my gosh, this amazing thing's happening. And all I want to do is reach out to Pan. I wanted him to call. I wanted him to text. I wanted him to email. I wanted to hear from him. It felt very much like the drought had started kicking in. Oh, I was so angry at myself. Every time I missed him, I got angry at myself. Every time I wanted him to call, I would get angry at myself. And it was just a back and forth. There was no peace from that. Gosh, I hated that there were so many nights that I would be like, oh, I hate that he believes this about me. And then I'd be like, you know what, fuck him. And then I'd be like, gosh, I wish things were so different. It's like, fuck you, bitch. Like, I would have... That's okay. You have to have that self-talk back and forth because there's always going to be a part of you after heartbreak, that especially after a DV situation, there's going to be a part of you that more often than not romanticizes the relationship. Like all the moments, like, oh my gosh, just thinking about the beautiful times. When you shouldn't be thinking about those times, you need to be thinking about all the khara, all the shit that happened, because that's a lot more telling than anything else. Of course, I didn't know that this is just the end of the year blues. Happens to everybody who goes through heartbreak. If you're going through heartbreak right now, the first year, as you get from September towards the end of the year, it is the hardest time for the heartbreak blues. Truly. So if you're going through that, that's natural. That's not the time you want to reach out to anybody. Don't reach out to your ex. Don't do anything stupid like that. Just know that it is the end of the year blues. Very normal. Cry it out, girlfriend. Go watch a movie. Okay, get your muffin wax. That'll get you focused on something else. One trip get you back into reality. The thing is, I didn't have somebody to explain that to me. For me, I would try to go talk to my mom about it or to somebody in my family, and I would get judged for it. I didn't have support, I had judgment. Still remember one point where I was in my kitchen sitting down crying, again, having the end of the year blues. And I was saying, I don't know why I miss this person. I don't know what's wrong with me. I wish I could understand it. And something just telling me, this is natural. Just let it flush. Just feel to heal. It was one of the first times I ever heard feel to heal. And as I'm hearing feel to heal, it just felt so powerful to me that something told me to go to record myself. And I didn't have room or any storage on my camera, so I actually got my laptop. I opened up the photo booth and I started recording myself. And my mom asked me, she said, well, why are you recording it? What would be the point of recording something like that? And because it is, I mean, who sits around recording themselves crying, right? It just seemed odd, but something told me that I had to do it. Well, you have to do this. It's not about what you're thinking. You can't think too much. Don't think, just do. You have to record yourself because one day it will be important. I didn't know what to do with it. I just knew I had to do it. Record it, keep it there, and get accustomed to looking at yourself on camera. Get accustomed to being emotional, to being vulnerable on camera. That's all I knew I had to do, truly. So I did it. Sat my laptop off and just kept having the conversation with my mom and crying and letting myself flush without feeling ashamed or embarrassed of seeing my reflection, which was very hard for me to do because emotions made me feel weak. And I still remember going back to my room, putting my laptop there, and I said, when the new year comes, you're going to share your story. You're going to start sharing layers of your story. It's for other people. There's got to be other women who've been through this. Other women have got to understand. You're not talking to somebody like meaning my mom, my family. I wasn't talking to people who could understand. So I had to find others who could, and those who needed somebody like myself to be vulnerable enough to talk about these things, to share these thoughts, no matter how it made you look. I needed to do it for them, but mostly I needed to do it for myself. Truly. I needed to become my own hero. And a hero doesn't get afraid of their emotions. So I said, come next year. I love the start of a new year. Oh, it makes me feel like the new start, I can start on that day and it'll have all this energetic charge. So I said, come the new year, which was just around the corner at that point, I'm going to start going very hardcore with social media and sharing my story. New Year's Eve comes around. I was still dealing with my heartbreak, off my pills, but I was starting to feel myself come back to life. I had just done the Steve Harvey show, and that is one of the things that helped me tell my story, sharing parts of what happened. I think some of you might remember the video.
I don't even know how to start this.
Because so many people were questioning, like, what would make this Musrab woman be so fearless to talk about all this stuff, talk about these, the topics that were in the videos, all of that. Like, what would make a woman do that? And when they heard what happened, not to the degree that I talk about here, it turned out that I was not the only Musrab Sharmuta out there. There were many other women who were victims to little boys disguised as men, using their V card, their past, their vulnerabilities against them to tarnish their name, their family reputation, all of that. Like, this was very, very common. And I already knew this, obviously, when I had talked to clients through my blog. But to have that be now on social media and have a lot more people talking about the things that were happening to them, oh my gosh, it felt revolutionary. We were starting a movement of sharmutas. I realized, as I had with my blog years ago, that I was not alone. There were many others, and they were tired. People were tired of it. And so much opportunity seemed possible. So much seemed possible. And I was ready to take it on. So it was me and my mom. We got Chinese food and watched the countdown on WGN with Janet Davis and Mark Diagreco. And as we're watching another countdown, I'm making again another wish. And I'm saying, Ya Allah, please help me heal. Help me get my revenge. I wanted nothing more than revenge. I wanted revenge. And I felt like it had started. Love wasn't on the list. I wasn't sitting there being like, God, please help me find the love of my life and make sure that love comes back in. I was no longer feeling that desperation for love. I wanted nothing more than me. Clock strikes 12. It's midnight. Come the first day, you guys already know, I've talked about this many times about start the new year right. I started the first day off very bright. Got up bright and early, like 4 a.m. Went straight to the gym. Worked out, and I'm working out, getting that grind in, feeling good. And sometime after about 6 a.m., I get a call from Musty Puss. And MP's like, Faiza, could you please come pick me up? Oh my God, me and my boyfriend got into an argument, and it's New Year's Eve, and I was drinking, and I don't know what to do, and I parked my car by Portillo's, and I need somebody to come help me. And I'm like listening to her frantically going on and on. I looked back at the conversation we had when we were training, and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess she really can't turn to anyone else. She can only turn to me right now. And there was a part of that was flattering. Like, wow, look, I could be there for her right now. She needs me. And so I left the gym and I went to pick her up. She was literally, like, you could tell she was hungover. And so I'm like, we're going to want to get you something to eat so we can sober you up a little bit here. And we found something to eat. She's eating in the car, getting herself sobered up. I get her close to her car so she could just kind of jump in. But before she's leaving, she's eating, making sure that she, again, sobers up as much as she can before she goes home. While she's eating, sobering up, she starts talking about how she got into an argument with her boyfriend and they were at the party. She saw him looking at other girls and she was feeling very self-conscious. And she's like, I've been trying to get my body right for him. I was like, ooh, that's not something that you want in your life. And I'm telling her, I'm like, you don't want to be around somebody that's making you feel like you have to compete. She's eating, trying to sober herself up. And she's like, you know what? You're right. It's just that Rami is so inconsiderate. And I'm like, Rami? You mean Major Ball's friend, Rami? And you should have seen this girl's face. She's like, oh, yeah. I didn't want to tell you, but my secret boyfriend's actually Major Ball's friend. I say to her, I'm like, you're dating Major Ball's friend, Musty Puss? And she says, yeah, like we've been going out for a while. And I said, so you were dating when we were at the gym, I was helping you train. That's who you were talking about. You were talking about Major Ball's friend, right? And she goes, yeah, it's just, I just didn't want you to get the wrong impression of him because of Pan. And I said, you know that Major Ball's friend was one of the main reasons my reputation got destroyed, right? Because he and Prosthetic were working together along with Pan. It was a Bermuda Triangle of ballless, dickless men sitting around starting this drama. And she goes, yeah, you're maybe right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's why it's just best this doesn't happen anymore. That's it, done. I just want to be done with this. Felt very betrayed, but slightly vindicated when she's like, I'm not going to see him anymore because he's not faithful and I can't trust him. I don't know what he's doing when we're not around. And if that's how he acts when I'm around, imagine how he acts when I'm not around. Of course, Musty Puss did not stop dating Major Ball's friend. And she starts begging me to please hear me out. Please talk to me. I have nobody else to talk to. Guys, that was my Achilles heel. Because I knew what it was like to have nobody. And what does she need? Just someone to vent to. Someone to get advice from. And my advice was get away from Major Ball's friend. But she didn't listen at all. It didn't even matter if I gave advice. She didn't listen to it. I was her once upon a time. Which is why I felt even more obligated to be like, honey, please don't do it. Don't make the same mistake. Don't do it to yourself. But also just so confused, like, how could you not see what happened here? And I think what made that part even harder was the realization that, like everybody else, they believed it was my fault. Well, you did something wrong. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. And so it's on you. Ugh, it's terrible to have a bad reputation according to the community. And so she would say to me, I have nobody else to talk to. I have nobody else to turn to. And I didn't know how to close my door. So I listened to her, and I still remember even one time when she invited me over to her house. And I'm a little embarrassed to even say this out loud, but it's also the truth. There was a time where that invitation in itself was like, wow, like royalty was inviting me over. Oh my God. Wow. Like I'd never stepped foot in her house. Never. So I'm walking in there like, oh my gosh, wow, she's inviting me over. So I felt validated in that, especially because I was an outcast. So it's like, wow, you're inviting me here. You're not ashamed of me coming into your home? And when I get there, nobody's home. So it was just her and I. We go up to the room. She's getting ready to go on a date with Major Ballless friend. And I'm sitting listening like a fucking antler. Like I was growing horns there, listening to her talk about the date they're going on and how she did squats before she was leaving so that her ass would look good. She's telling me how her family would never approve of it and how they don't like him. And I'm like, okay, can you blame them? I mean, this is a time. They're very right. They're very, very right. And she tells me how she wants to marry Major Ballless friend to bring that garbage truck into the circle. Ugh. It felt like a nightmare, like a fucking nightmare. It's like, yeah, you know, I really love him. You don't understand. Trust me, he's nothing like Pan. Oh my gosh, it's not just the betrayal that you're continuing to talk to this person, but that now you're trying to convince me that he was not like Pan when I keep telling you he was a part of the reason and the plan and that whole plot to destroy my reputation. One of those times I was leaning on God, I hope her parents win this fight and she does not bring this absolute dump truck into the circle. I'm like, well, what are you going to do if your parents say no? And she says, well, I'm just going to go ahead and lock myself in my room and tell them I'm not going to eat anymore until they let me marry him. And I'm like, what? So I got up and I'm like, you know, girl, I have to get home. Everything about it made me uncomfortable, everything. And she's like, no, girl, could you just wait a little bit longer, just a little bit longer? And I'm like, well, I really gotta go. And she's like, no, just till I get my outfit together. I promise you, let me just get my outfit together. And just as she says that, we hear somebody at the front door. And my anxiety shoots up to a 10. Like, all I'm thinking is, oh my God, would she be so bold as to invite Major Ballless friend here? Is that who's there? And I hear Assalamu alaikum, and I realize it's her parents. They are calling out to her, and she's like, I'm up here with Faiza. And her parents were not happy to see me there at all. At all. And I just excused myself. I was like, Assalamu alaikum, hope that everything's well. I'm, gonna head out. Asked about the family. They did the same, and I just left. I just left at that point. I did not feel comfortable or safe at all in that moment. SubhanAllah, I look back at that time and I think, wow, how my intuition was spot on. Spot on. That same night, Musty Puss calls me and asks if I can lend her this certain pink jalabiya that I had. I had gotten it from a client who was in Saudi Arabia during when my blog was just at its height. I got this beautiful jalabiya. And she's like, do you mind if I can use it? Can I borrow it for this event? And I'm like, sure. Her mom is standing by the door and I wave and say Assalamu alaikum, and she waves and says wa alaikum salam, but it was very, very, very cold. Very cold. And I just felt something was off. So much so that after her party, she messages me over and over hey, come pick up your jalabiya. Hey, you should come pick it up. Hey, I'm available right now. Hey, do you want to meet up? Please come by the house. She was very adamant on me coming. And I told her, I'm like, no, you can just keep it. And she's like, are you sure? That's crazy, girl. This is very expensive. You would really do that? You would really let me keep it? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. You can keep it. She's like, okay, that's fine. All right. Maybe we can meet up and grab Subway or something. And again, I was like, nope. I didn't say no. I just said, yeah, inshallah, which means no. In 2017, I find out that Musty Puss and Major Ballless Friend were getting married. Of course, her family was, they were outraged. They were so upset. Like, they did not like the dump truck. Can you blame them? And who were they upset with? Me. Now, why were they upset with me, you might ask yourself? Well, I was asking myself that same fucking question because I'm like, how did I get dragged into this? What the fuck do I have to do with Musty Puss and Major Ballless Friend? I find out that MP said that I had introduced her to Major Ballless Friend and that I had encouraged them to continue to get to know each other. And the way that she proved that to her family was all the time we were spending together come the new year, which is apparently when she met him. She didn't know him until I introduced her to him. Come that new year when I went to pick her up. And that's why she was marrying Major Ballless Friend, who was at that wedding like, oh, hopefully this gives me a pair of balls now. Let me see. Nope, never mind. And you gotta love that when Muslims are covering up their lies, they won't send out any invitations to anybody who can prove that is not true. Of course, we didn't get an invitation, nor would we have gone. Family had videos shared, and 2 people were very interesting on that wedding video. And that was Prosthetic, who was Major Ballless Friend's cousin, and of course, Pan, who was the best friend of Major Ballless Friend, and also the best man, which they should have changed that name to Best Little Boy Disguised as a Man. Everyone, round of applause for the little boy disguised as a man coming to give a speech. Ugh, they deserve each other though, because the truth is, what kind of individual are you to take what happened to an innocent woman and say, well, now I'm going to use this to my advantage to try to piggyback off that because her reputation's fucked anyway. So I'm going to say that she encouraged me to do something I wanted to do, something I was doing anyway. They deserve each other. But back to the beginning of that January, I left Musty Puss, left there to go back home to focus on myself and go hard on me. Work, my body, everything. Me. I was selfish. And everything was going well. My followers were growing. I started feeling more myself. And just in time for February of 2016, when the Steve Harvey Show released.
Love that one.
Yeah.
A great feeling when you get a good selfie.
Right.
My car is like the portal to Narnia, so you're gonna find almost everything you need in here.
She's my favorite person.
The response from the community was 50-50. 50% of the people supported it, 50% of them didn't because I was there. They didn't agree that I should have been there. So the 50% that heard the message really supported it, but the other ones didn't want to hear any part of what I was saying because it was coming out of my mouth, which is just... it's just so stupid. It's exactly why the community is so torn and why there's no unity in the Arab world. I said, let me just focus on the positive and the 50% that are responding very well. And I did that. And when I focused on that, everything seemed great. And I had more traffic coming to my page, more people interested in my comedy. Because remember, the Steve Harvey Show didn't show the comedic aspect of what I do. So people came to my social media platforms to see, oh, wow, well, she's funny. Felt like things were falling into place. It really did. And because things felt like they were falling into place, the person... the person that I wanted to get in touch with was Pan. Things were going so well that the only person I wanted to call and share it with was Pan. And I know a lot of you are sitting there thinking to yourselves like, bitch, what the fuck? But you're speaking logic, and you would have been speaking logic to, at that time, an illogical individual. So as much as you might be sitting there pulling your hair and being like, bitch, what the fuck? Yeah, but you have to remember that at one point, Pan was everything to me, everything. And even though I had survived him, even though I was healing and I was still working through the hurt, that emotional imprint, that didn't just vanish. It doesn't just go away. You know, our feelings aren't like a light switch. You can't turn it on and off anytime you please. It takes time to release, to flush, to fully flush, really genuinely. And I didn't have anybody to tell me that at that time, to give me that comfort, like, hey, it's okay. That's all right. I know it sounds a little stupid, honey, but you just have to reprogram your brain. I did have Allah. I had God. So I could turn to God because I knew God wasn't going to sit around judging me. He knew what my intention was. The problem is, I needed to hear a response, to feel somebody hold me, tell me it was going to be okay. I needed that. And I wasn't receiving that. So that calling and that urge and desire to reach out to him, to hear from him, it was too strong. It was much, much too strong. So strong that I ended up texting Pan. One of the many things that I hated about myself through that journey was how often I was seeking validation from Pan. Oh my gosh, to great lengths. Some of it I already told you. Yep. This is what happens when you don't love yourself. I still remember even messaging him, making it look like it was a mistake. Like I was messaging somebody from the Steve Harvey team saying, thank you so much for having me. It was amazing. Some stupidity that I sent out to make it look like it was an accidental text. Like I didn't mean to message you. I meant to message this person or that person. Pan responded and said, Faiza, ? He knew it was me because at this point I had changed my number. So all I started thinking at that point was, wow, now he has your number again. You stupid fucking idiot. Ugh. And I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, Pan. You knew this, honey. I get so angry with myself. Oh my God. Ugh, whatever. You live, learn, you grow. At least you guys can learn from my stupidity. Don't make the same mistakes, stupid. And he's like, it's Pan. I'm like, oh my God. That's crazy. I didn't mean to message you. Honey. And then he says, I miss you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he misses me. I miss him too, you know? I didn't say that, but I'm thinking it. I didn't respond to that, and he double texts and says that we should meet up for closure, that he's sure I have things I want to say, and that it would be best for us to meet up, talk it out, and go our separate ways. Wahiyat Rabbi, something told me, do not meet this person. Are you stupid? Are you stupid, right? Because no, I do not believe you should meet an ex ever for closure. An ex can't give you closure at all. Only you can give yourself the closure you truly need and deserve. Only you. You and time. Time will give it to you. But the part of me that was still working through my healing, still working to understand what it all meant, that part of me, that part asked, where am I meeting you? Next day, I'm getting dressed up. I still remember what I wore too. I had light blue skinny jeans on, a gray tank top, and a gray sweater over. And I used to love that gray tank top, which I think I still have. And I loved that gray tank top too, because the way that it kind of just swooped here made the small things look like big things. Small things look like big things. I didn't tell my mom anything. I just got into the car, said I was going out for a bit, and went to go pick him up. I parked where he lived and texted him telling him that I was there, and I'm watching as he's walking towards the car. I have a perfect view of him walking towards the car. And I'll never forget, you guys, he's wearing gray sweatpants that were like ripped at the bottom, ripped and wet at the bottom. He has on like the wife beater, his uniform, and he has his hair just like hanging. He looks unkept, unwashed, like he's just a mess, right? I know that there should have been a part of me that was like, wow, look, he's a broken man without me, right? That part of my ego that wanted that revenge, that wanted him to feel small and insignificant the way he had made me feel, right? But I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way at all. I just remember looking at him and thinking, that's how you show up to meet the person that you want to get closure from, like a slob. I don't know. It just said so much to me. It just said so much to me. He tries to open the door. I still remember it was locked at first, so I had to unlock it. And he was annoyed the way he snapped the doorknob. And because it was locked, I unlock it. He gets in, sits down. Wow, how uncomfortable. I can't believe I have to just take a pause because I just cannot believe sometimes that I sat with someone who tried to take my life, who had done everything he had done, to show you the level of absolute stupidity we can go to in our lives. That I sat down with somebody that there was a chance I wasn't going to get out of there. And I went to go sit with him in a confined space. I don't know. Sits down, and when he sits down, that's when I noticed that he still has the silver Italian chain that I got him, that he's wearing it. He'd always said that he was never going to take it off. And that was the first thing that I said to him. I said, wow, you're still wearing the necklace that I got you. And he says, I told you I was never going to take it off. And I said to him, I said, well, yeah, you said the same thing about the ring, but you took the ring off. You know, why didn't you just take the necklace off? And he didn't say anything. He sat in silence for like a little bit. And then he's like, should we drive? And I'm like, sure. So we went to start driving around the block. And at one point we get to a light, and there's like this like funky smell, like just downtown Chicago. And I still remember he said that the sewer, he's like, oh man, the sewer smells so fucking awful. And for whatever reason, I replied with, what, does it smell like a porno? Like he had said that time in the hotel room. And he turns to me, he's like, man, that really bothered you, didn't it? That really bothered you that time. He knew exactly what I was talking about. And that was my turn to not say anything. I just like let it sit there. And he goes, do you know that I was actually invited to do a porno? No. No, sir, I did not know that. What? And he goes, yeah, I was dating a girl one time that said I should do it. She had connections, and she's like, I should do that. It would pay really well. There was always a reason for Pan to say everything he ever said. And that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, that's why you said that. So I guess he went with her one time to a porn shoot. Anyway, he starts laughing, and he's like, man, look at your face. I'm sure I reacted the same way you just saw. I'm sure I reacted the same way. But I started thinking to myself, like, gosh, thank God this is done. And then he just shifted from that to the Steve Harvey show. And he's like, on another topic, you know, I saw the Steve Harvey show. I didn't really say anything because I was still lingering on the whole porn confession, to be quite frank. And he adds, you know, you did really well. It was a great job. You did great for the Muslim community. I'm very proud of you. From that point, he goes on to add about how social media was going and how my followers, at that point, I had hit like 25,000 followers. And so he's like, wow, you know, like you're doing this. And he was saying about how people were going to wonder who I was dating and who the guy I was talking about, because I was making Harambe videos, like the Harambe boyfriend and the girlfriend, like their skits. And he's like, the fact that you're talking about it, clearly you know about relationships and people are going to know that you have a past. And I say, people know I had a past because you told them I had a past. People know about the past because you made them aware of my privacy. Pan goes, you could tell people that it was me who did that. I'm okay with that. Go ahead, tell them that it was me. And I'm just looking at him like he's just such a fucking idiot. I'm just looking at his face like, what's wrong with you? And I said, Pan, you would not want me to tell everybody what you did, because you don't think what you did was wrong, and you think it was cute, like what you did in tracking my phone. And Pan just sat there. He didn't say anything. Nothing. It was one of the first times he was like, because it was the first time I ever said it out loud. I said a lot more than that. I needed to say it. I needed to say it out loud so he could hear it. And once he heard it, it didn't land on him the same way. I think he thought it would. And he goes, babe, babe. And he leans over the chair and puts his head on my lap right here. I didn't know how to move him at that moment. Like a part of me wanted to grab his hair and throw him to the side. But then there was another part of me that was like, he's there again. And I fucking hated myself. Every time I felt any softness, any love, any sort of compassion towards him, I hated myself for it. I hated myself for it. Because I did not have anyone to explain to me why I was feeling that. Why was I feeling those emotions for a monster who tried to kill me, who destroyed my reputation, who accused me of cheating? Why? I wish I would have had somebody to pop into the car at that point and say, girl, it's okay just because you have a desperate need to feel needed. A part of you, maybe the youngest, most wounded part of you, still remembers when that head used to lay there and rest in love. We don't always push away the things or the people that hurt us. You know, sometimes we cradle them so that we can remember what it meant to us. I had convinced myself that I needed closure from Pan, that there was some sort of unfinished business there. And that's what made me allow him to rest his head there. That's what made me allow him to convince me to go over to his place. I think one of the cruelest things about being a survivor of domestic abuse is how you feel you need to seek closure from the very same person who broke you. I remember there was a moment where we were just laying there and he says to me, I'm, going to be traveling and I'm going out of the country and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I would like to make this work again, but I want to have my freedom to go there and do what I want to do. And I just was listening to him like, oh my God, you're so stupid. Ugh. He adds how he wants to take me back, but I have to prove myself. Like he has to feel safe enough that he could trust me. So I'm going to have to prove myself to him. And I'm thinking, prove myself? Prove myself? To you? And when he falls asleep, I remember watching him sleep and just thinking like, that's enough, Faiza. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. You shouldn't have even met this person. You didn't need to meet this person to have what you're feeling right now. I already felt that way. So I got up the next morning and the moment I even started moving in the bed, he shoots up. And he says, are you leaving? I'm like, yeah, I want to go. Even my demeanor was different. And he asked me, he's like, what's up? What's wrong? Why do you seem different? And I remember I told him, I said, I want to go home. And we walk out of the room. I realized he has 2 roommates. I didn't even know he had roommates till I walked out of the room and they were sleeping on the couch. And I'm tiptoeing as light as I possibly can because the last thing I wanted was those very obviously Musrab men sleeping to wake up and see me there. Because I was disgusted with myself that I would even go, ugh. Like how could I? How could I betray myself? My body, my energy, everything like that. How could I? I was so angry at myself. And I remember walking down the stairs, walking all the way down. And he's behind me. We get to the front door, open the gate, tries to reach for a kiss. I rejected it. I said, have a good day. And I start walking to my car, doing the walk of fucking shame to my car. I walk to my car. As I'm about to open the door, I look over, see that he's still standing there watching me. And I didn't wave. He didn't wave. Nothing. I just got into my car, drove off. And at night, Pan calls me and asks if I took some time to think about it and if I want to start all over again together. But he wanted to make it very clear that just so I know that if I decide to do this, I'm going to have to prove myself to him because he doesn't know what he can trust anymore. He doesn't know what he could trust, who he can trust. So he just wants to know that if I do decide to do that, I'm ready to prove myself to him. And I said, Pan, I'm done. I don't want this. I took the time to think about it. I don't want this. And he says, yeah, right. Which I don't blame him. I don't blame him for saying that. Would you have believed a woman who she goes back once and then twice and thrice and 12 times and 40 times? Not after that. People stop listening. They roll their eyes at that point, do a sigh like, oh God, what an idiot. They say things like she's the drama. Was it really that bad if she went back? Did that all really happen if she went back to him? They don't understand, and what I didn't understand at the time that I was so young and so stupid, that leaving isn't an event. It's a process. It's a process. It takes time. It's not just walking out the door, never seeing this person again. It's not that. It's rewiring your brain to think and to see this person completely differently. It's rewiring everything that's built inside here to understand survival as love. You have to retrain your brain completely at that point. That was also because I had this understanding of like, you don't leave love. Love stays. You don't abandon love. And what did I say earlier? You have to reprogram this to understand what love really is. You actually have to mourn the loss of what you thought was love. When you leave a domestically abusive relationship, you're not just mourning the loss of the person, you're mourning the loss of the love. You're grieving the love you thought you had. All the memories you swore were real. You were convinced they were real. You're having to grieve all of that. But the hardest part is grieving the part of you that believed it all. Every word, every moment, every sorry, and maybe even some of it was real, which somehow only makes it hurt worse. I was ready to leave. And it wasn't a performance this time. It was now a peace that I felt. A complete peace with the decision. Like I felt so firm in my decision. Nobody, not even Pan, not his head on my lap, not his hand in mine, nothing could have convinced me otherwise. This time it was not a performance. It wasn't a threat. There was no hope that he'll chase me. Please come get me. There was no hope of that. This time I did not want to win. I didn't want to win. I just wanted peace. I just wanted peace, which was something I was always seeking. Peace. And you want to know when someone's really done? Not when they're screaming and crying and everything, when they go quiet. When they go completely quiet. And I went quiet. I was done. I hung up that phone. I changed my number. And I said, that's it for me. I will never contact this person again. I will never call this person again. I will sit across this person again. That day, right outside the car as I stood there and we met eyes at that moment, was the last time Pan and I ever saw each other. February of 2016. And I went full force on me. Continued going even more full force. If I didn't have enough energy before, I got it magnified 100-fold at that point. I cut the cord and I took my power back for me. And it was transformational. My followers started, oh my gosh, guys, growing. And I started cutting people off. Anybody attached to that part of the past, I cut them off, which was very hard for Arabs to do. Musrabs, especially in the Musrab community, they don't cut anybody off. Everybody stays friends forever. They can't stand each other, but they're friends. Nobody believes in cutting anybody off. You got to stay together. But nobody's united, but you got to look united. Because cutting somebody off is a betrayal. Distance is a betrayal because that's a boundary, and boundaries are seen as a disrespect. That's rebellion, and they don't want that anywhere around them. In that world, staying silent, having no boundaries is respect. That's love. That's loyalty. Of course, I had to come to realize that that's control disguised as loyalty, and I was not, especially at that point, going to be controlled. I was done with appearance. I didn't care how I looked, especially because my reputation was gone anyway. That's one of the many things that losing your reputation gives you, a freedom to just be yourself. You don't have to worry about what this person's going to say or what somebody else might think or how you might be perceived in this way or what they might catch you doing because my name was already destroyed anyway. So I'm like, well, what else can you possibly do? How else can you possibly hurt me? So I started cutting people off. And if you decide to be friends with people who are friends with anybody connected to Pan or the jinn attached to that experience, I'm cutting you off too. And my circle was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So my mentality was, bye. I don't want you anywhere near me. And it doesn't matter what you say because how else could you possibly hurt me? You already took my good name. Okay, how else can you really hurt me? This is my thought. I would find out on Valentine's Day just how much more they could hurt if they wanted to. See, Nadine had come into town because we wanted to spend Valentine's Day together. At first, I was going to spend Valentine's Day with me, make myself my own Valentine, which I ended up doing anyway. Bought myself a card, bought myself chocolate, flowers, really catered to me. And Nadine says, girl, why don't we have a girls' night? We could be each other's Valentine. I'm like, well, girl, I'm mine, but I'm happy to have a second one. We get a room at a hotel that I wish I could name because they deserve to have themselves exposed for this. But I trust that Allah will get them. I think he's already getting them because they're having to sell. Haha. We get a room at this hotel. And as Nadine and I are pulling up to the hotel, valet comes up and they are waving at us like, stop the car, like yelling. And Nadine and I are like, what the fuck? Why is this valet like yelling at us like that? The guy comes up to the door. Another valet guy is standing right behind him. And he knocks on the window and says, give me your keys here. And I'm like, okay, that's like just the way they approached us was so rude. They were so quick about it. Like, let's go, hurry up so we can park the other cars. I put the car in park, get my stuff. She gets her stuff. We were pretty quick with it. So quick that I actually forgot my second phone in the glove compartment, which is something I didn't notice till the next morning, but we'll get there. He rips the ticket, gives us our half, and I said, thank you. He doesn't say you're welcome. Nothing. I mean, I've never experienced a valet like this. And we go inside, check in, go to our room, have dinner, had some drinks, had a girls' night, had fun. Next morning, we check out, and we're waiting quite a while for the car to come. I still remember even getting a little bit nervous because the valet guys were all clearly Musrab, and I was nervous, like, oh my God, do one of them know pan or anything? Valet brings the car around, and I get in, Nadine gets in, and we start driving home. I take Nadine home. Somewhere on the drive back home after dropping Nadine off, I noticed that my phone was missing from the glove compartment. I'm panicking. I call Nadine. Nadine, did you see my phone? She hadn't. She tells me call the hotel. I call the hotel. The hotel tells me to talk to valet. I try to talk to valet. Valet is ignoring my call. I leave a message, get no call back. Call again, get a guy. The guy says, there's no phone here. Clicks the phone shut. Try to call the hotel to get the hotel to give me some answers about the phone because I was certain that I had left the phone in the glove compartment. And the hotel's like, if valet's saying they didn't find it, that's it. We're not responsible for anybody's items or any items that you leave in the car. And I was panicking, guys. It's a horrible feeling to lose your phone, okay? Or to have somebody steal your phone, okay? I knew I didn't lose it. I knew I did not lose that phone. I knew I left that phone in the glove compartment. And I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with the hotel. I tried to speak to a manager, tried to speak to everybody. They would not help. But I didn't feel like I could do anything. So I just called up the phone carrier, canceled the line, and had them send me out another phone. I wouldn't see this phone again until April of 2016, when the same valet guys would suddenly call Nadine. Okay, because remember, at this time, I changed my number. So nobody had access from that world, Pan and his minions. None of them had access to my phone number. So they called Nadine. And they call Nadine and say, could you tell Faiza to come pick up her phone? So Nadine says, how the fuck do you have my friend's phone? And she hangs up immediately on them. Calls me right away and says, Faiza, these fucking guys, the valet, have your phone. They just called me. They said they need you to go pick it up. She was so pissed. Not only was she pissed, Nadine was worried. The most upsetting part was calling the hotel and speaking to the manager or managers, because it was several people, and getting the same answer after I'm telling them what their valet did and what happened. And what response do I get? Well, you got your phone back, right? Okay, so what's the problem? Bitch, what's the problem? Your valet was holding on to my phone for months and then just returned it. You don't want to do an investigation about that? You don't want to check into it? You don't think there's something problematic at the core of this system? And what am I told? You got your phone back, right? Okay, bye. Click. Karma. That's their best friend right now. We knew exactly who it was. And so I told Nadine I am not going to pick it up. She's like, I would not go pick up the phone at all. Send one of your brothers. And that's exactly what I did. I sent my brother to go pick up the phone. When he brought it back, I put it into a Ziploc bag and took it straight to the Apple store. I didn't even want to touch it because I had already gone through having my phone traced and all of that invasion of privacy before. So I'm like, what is this right now? So I took it to the Apple store and I got a really, really, really nice guy to look at the phone, which, gosh, if you remember me, sir, if you remember my face, my story as you hear this, and this was you, may God bless you, because you changed my perspective on what it means to have somebody stalk you. And I explained to him everything that happened, how I lost the phone, how the phone came back, the situation I'd come out of. And he said, this is very much a scare tactic. You know that, right? And I'm like, no, I don't know that. Is that what this is supposed to feel like? Because I am actually feeling scared. So if that's a scare tactic, it's working. And he said, no, don't let it work. Don't contact anybody. Don't play the game. You have your phone back. He said, you can sell this, you could throw it away, whatever you want to do with it. There's no bug in it. He checked everything because he used to be a hacker. I found out he used to be a hacker. He used to do hacking for people. So he checked everything for me. And I felt very safe enough to like touch the phone. So right in front of him, I'm like going through it. I realized all my pictures were gone. All the videos were gone. All the text messages were wiped. Everything was erased. The only thing that was left on the phone was one entry in my phone book. Do you want to take a guess who the one person in that phone book was? That's right, Pan. So all the numbers were erased besides Pan. I knew what the man was saying was true. I'm like, wow, this is his way of calling me. The old Faiza would have called him. But he was not prepared for who Faiza had become, who Faiza is today. He was betting on the wrong Faiza. Stored the phone away. I did not call him. I did not text him. I did not email him. I asked him 0 questions about the phone. Instead, I went straight to the police station and I made a report. The officer did admit to me that nothing was going to happen, which, shocker. This is why so many women get afraid to report things. But I just wanted it on file. That's all I cared about. At least get it on file. So it's recorded that this happened. I left the police station and then went to the nearest place I could find that worked on tires so they can raise the car up and check underneath the car for any tracking devices. He checked everything, every corner. And that was one of the first times I felt so comfortable, so safe around a man again. I'm like, oh gosh, thank God there are good guys out there. And the way he was checking everything to make sure I was safe it gave me comfort. Oh my gosh, we've been here for 3 hours now. Oh my gosh, no wonder I'm so tired. Let me finish this. When I got home after all of that, I remember explaining everything that happened and going back to the family who had the credit to tell them what had happened. And I asked again, I said, listen, this is not safe. I need to leave here. I don't feel safe here. Mentally, I can't take it. Physically, I'm worried. This just happened. And again, they said no. But they would be by at the end of the week to take me to the zoo so I could see the penguins and the rest of the animals in the exhibits. It felt so isolating. To want to leave, to feel unsafe, and to not be able to do that. I just kept going back to producing content. I'm like, if this is my way out, if God's telling me I just have to keep showing up and he will give me a way to get out, I'm going to have to just keep on going. He must know what's going on with the phone and everything. He saw it, right? So I have to trust that he's going to keep me in good hands and everything will be okay. That's how I had no other choice. I had no other way to look at it at that point. My focus was healing myself, build my career, build my credit, and get the fuck out. That was the goal, just get out. So I just kept going. I had to be patient. I knew that I had to be patient. So just kept working and going through the motions of everyday life through that experience. There were some days that were good and many days that just were not. So when Nadine invited me out to where she had moved to spend Labor Day, I was like, oh, yes. And so she's like, girl, come down here. I need you. And I'm like, girl, I need you too. Let's do it. I jump into my car, head out. We'll just say Michigan. I head out to Michigan. And I get there. Nadine and I must have been together for maybe about an hour before I get a call from my mom saying that Pan was causing mayhem about wanting the car back that evening. Like that was it. He was done and he wanted the car back. For those of you who haven't watched that part, but please go back to watch these in order. It will make a lot more sense to you. But Pan had, when we were going to get engaged, got me that car. Although his name was on it, I was the one who made the down payment. I made the monthly payments. I paid the insurance, everything, maintenance for the car. I was doing it. So he could ask for the car back if he wanted to. And that's exactly what he was doing. Now, I did not want to get on the phone with him because I knew that's what he wanted. I knew that's what he wanted. He didn't get a reaction from anything else. So now he's doing this. So I'm bound to call. Because of course it was devastating to hear that I would lose my car. I mean, my car was everything to me. It was where I did my healing. I know that might sound silly, but that's where I did my healing. A lot of my healing was in that car, getting to the car, just driving around and driving around and driving around. Being able to escape, being able to have the freedom to escape like that. That's what a car is. It's freedom. And I was having that now taken from me when I couldn't just replace it. Not yet. I was trying to get us out of where we were living. I couldn't do the car and that. My family gets involved and she'll get the car back to you tomorrow night. She can't do it tonight. He's snapping, and saying, all right, well, I'm calling the police. Tell Nadine, I said, girl, I'm going to have to leave tomorrow. Like, there's an emergency. I'm going to have to go home. And she goes, what's going on? And that's when I told her, I said, Pan said he wants the car back. I still remember even feeling panic because I'm like, how does he even know? Why now? Why did he start this now? He must know I'm traveling. He must be stalking. There's got to be a tracking device on the car. Like, I'm just panicking. And that's when Nadine admits to me that she told Masadi that I was coming to Michigan to see her. And I felt so betrayed. I'm like, why would you tell Masadi, who's Pan's best friend, who's going to tell him everything, that I'm here with you when you know everything that's been going on and everything that happened with Pan? And Nadine says, I'm sorry, Masadi and I are in a good place now, and I wish we would have been like this when we were together. Oh, I was floored. Especially because I was in a position where I was starting to empower myself. And then here was Nadine still finding a reason to be attached to the very same person who broke her and who was best friends with another person who broke me. Now, my mentality at this point was I'm cutting off anybody who's even remotely connected to Pan or anybody who knows him. But now I'm having to face the fact that that person is someone I considered my best friend. That she was not ready to let go of Masadi, to cut that friendship off. And that meant now I had to cut the friendship off with her. It was terrible. And I had to say goodbye to her because I had to really set a boundary firmly enough, and I didn't know if I could trust her to even say anything to her. And no, it wasn't going to get to Masadi because he had a way with her and getting her to just flush, so much so that she told him where I was when she knew that was something that was supposed to be private, and for very specific reasons, for safety concerns. It made me think so many times about how Pan would say to me, I'm going to make sure you lose everyone, everything. And having to walk away, get into my car and be that upset with Nadine and be like, wow, you betrayed me right now, made me feel like Pan won. Because I loved Nadine, and I was now having to say goodbye to her because I couldn't trust her. I couldn't trust her to control herself. And in turn, I couldn't trust her to protect me. I get into my car, I start driving home. I get a call from my mom because Pan had made everybody aware, who in turn made me aware that he had called the police and made sure to report the car stolen because he was pissed that I waited the next day instead of the day he wanted it there. So he just wanted to make everybody aware that I could drive the car home that day, but I just might get pulled over and arrested for grand theft auto. I could not drive home fast enough. Every time I passed state troopers, police, I was praying, Ya Rabbi, please don't let them pull me over. I cried the whole drive home. As I got into Chicago, I made a stop to wash the car for the last time so that it would be clean when I gave it back. In the whole car, vacuumed everything, was still crying. The whole time this is happening, I'm crying. Saying goodbye to the car. Bye, Echo, because that's what I called the car. Echo from Lost. I named my car after the character. I was like, bye, Echo. I love you. Thank you so much for all the memories. Thank you for being there for me. And I came up, parked the car in the driveway, put the keys in the mailbox, went inside, cried with my mom. And as promised, he came by early that evening with one of his family members. And he gets the keys from the mailbox, walks over to the car, and I'll never forget how he and his family member were standing by the car, giving each other a handshake, like, bitch, get the fuck in the car and leave. Like, what? The way I cursed this man driving out of that driveway, I said, Allah, you better get him. You better get him. The next day, of course, he starts up. He's starting up about the fact that there were some scratches that he can notice on the car, and he wanted to know why those scratches existed. Now, of course, my family also did not want me talking to him. So my mom handled the conversation, and my mom's like, a tree fell on the car, and they had some scratches, and we got it fixed. He starts laughing. What are you talking about? A tree fell on the car. And he emails me saying that he doesn't believe it, and he wants proof with timestamps. He wanted proof with the timestamps proving that a tree had fallen on the car, because he did not believe that. That was a figment of my imagination and that was a lie. I sent him the picture. Then when he realizes that was the truth, he was very pissed about it. So what does he do? He contacts the insurance company to report insurance fraud. He said that he was the rightful owner of the vehicle and that I had been given a check and that I didn't take care of the damages. Insurance fraud is not something that you want. Okay, that's a big problem that you can get cuffed for, put behind bars for. Here I am again, being faced with this threat. Oh, I was terrified. He contacts Allstate, and Allstate contacts me. Of course, like, they take these things seriously. I said the truth, what had happened, that I'm the one who pays the car payments. I pay the insurance, which, again, the insurance was under my name. They had to ask me questions because, again, it was under my name. What happened here? And so I told them that I was the one paying the car. I had put the down payment. I had the proof of all of this. And I had to send all of it to them. I said what happened, sent the pictures of the tree on the truck, sent the pictures of what happened with the adjuster, and pictures of what was fixed. And I explained everything that happened. I said, you know what? The truth is that I just got out of this relationship. It was domestically abusive. This is what happened. When I left, all of these problems started. They were going to talk to Pan, and then they were going to do an investigation, and then I would find out what the findings were. Oh my God, it was terrifying. It was terrifying, especially because anyone that Pan had ever gone to had always gone on his side. So I was so afraid. I'm like, well, this is going to happen here too. And what happens there with insurance fraud? I'm in big trouble. One evening, I get a call back from Allstate. And all I'm thinking is, oh, Ya Rabbi, please help me right now. What am I about to be told? And he says to me, so I just spoke to, Pan. And I told him that according to everything that I investigated, everything that happened, that we at Allstate, we gave the check to the rightful owner, who we see as the rightful owner of that vehicle, which was you. Oh my gosh, what a sigh of relief. I was so grateful. It really is. And in Allstate, you are in good hands. And alhamdulillah ya Rab, and Allstate really did do a thorough investigation and really protected the truth. And I was so blessed, oh my God. And I even remember as I sat with that information that night, I remember thinking to myself, like, subhanAllah, no wonder that God even took the car away. Because there I was saying, like, I want freedom from pain. I don't want to be around this person anymore. I don't want any connection to this person. And it's like, well, then you're going to have to start cutting any attachment that you have to this person. And a part of that is the car. Right? That car would have found me attached to Pan for 4 years. 4 years. And that's not what God had planned. Now, Pan, again, did not take the information well, so it was clear he was not going to let that go. Several other things happened that I ended up having to, again, go to the police. And they actually came to the house. The officer explains, what would happen in the case of getting a restraining order, everything it would do in Pan's life. So he suggests calling Pan first and talking to him, like trying to talk him off the ledge. He calls Pan. He tells us that Pan was laughing the entire time on the call, like laughing off everything the officer was saying about not contacting, about not doing this, not doing that. He's laughing, which was very common with Pan. The officer says, if I were you, I would just do the report because he's not going to stop. His mom ends up calling mine and starts begging her, please don't do the restraining order. Please, it will destroy his life. Please don't do that. He's young. He's stupid. His mom kept saying, I swear to God, he'll never come by that house. We'll keep him away. He'll never show his face. They'll never see each other again. Like they knew it was serious. I knew I had the ability to ruin his life. I knew that. I mean, I was told that several times. This would ruin his life. And I would be a fucking liar if I said a part of me did not want that. Did not want to say fire with fire, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? You ruined, destroyed my name, I'll do the same thing to yours. There was a part of me that wanted to do that. But again, God said no. As much as I wanted to do it, God said no. I couldn't. And as much as I wanted to disobey, I knew what would come with disobeying. So I didn't file the restraining order, but I also didn't say anything to them. I wanted them to live under the fear of knowing it could happen. Figured I would use that scare tactic to buy myself some time and some freedom, because they said that he would not come around there, and I chose to trust him and to trust Allah, to trust God, because I was thinking, God, you're the one that's telling me not to do this. You're the one that's saying that. And so if I choose to trust you in this, I have to trust you're going to protect me, that you're going to make sure I'm okay, that I'm safe, that they will follow through with this, that this has scared them enough to know, fine, don't go there anymore. Alhamdulillah, Pan stayed at bay. Alhamdulillah, I didn't see Pan, even though I still had fear every time a car pulled up, every time there was a knock at the door, and so much more, you guys. I mean, that we're already into 5 hours here, focused on my career. I went straight into my masculine energy. I tapped solely into that. Work, 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 work. Credit, build your credit, get the money, get everything you need to do to get the fuck out. I had to start renting cars because I didn't have access to a vehicle like that anymore. It worked. My followers were growing. I was getting interviews. People started to know who Faiza Ramouni is, okay? And I started being seen as a hell of a lot more than the town whore. You know, the girl who wasn't a virgin, the half-breed that had dirty blood. I was being seen as a lot more than that. So as I'm growing and growing and growing, I hear nothing from Pan. Nothing. Nothing at all. But there was always that thought in my head, like, is today the day? Is today the day he's going to show up? Today I'm going to find an email? Is today the day there's going to be a letter at the door or something? But nothing. Silence. October of 2016 rolls around, and I decided, you know, as we were getting into the year of everything, all the chaos that had unfolded, I now had an amazing following. I was building a beautiful community for those of you who've been here from that start. Mwah. Many of you might remember, I decided in October of 2016 to marry myself in a campaign I called Marry Me. I thought, you know what? What better way to love myself than to commit to me first before I ever make a commitment to another person again? I think I want to marry. Started getting ready for my wedding. I didn't want to have any fast food because obviously, one, it's really not that good for you, and then two, because I wanted to fit into my dress. Penguins, we're here. So, well, we are like 20 minutes away from the meeting. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. One of the things you guys haven't seen is that on the side of my door, it actually says single and in love with me. So he was reading that and the part that says love yourself. That's what's up. That is what's up. Single and loving it, right? Gotta love yourself first. My mom did get a suit and dressed up with me and celebrate the day with me. We ended up going to Milwaukee. I had a talk with a group of women who were also survivors of domestic violence. So I did a talk with them first, and then afterwards, me and my mom went out and enjoyed Milwaukee. Went to go spend time by the water, went to go spend time with each other, had a beautiful dinner, did the beautiful drive home, listening to music, having fun, really connecting in a way that, gosh, my mom and I had not for quite a while up to that point. So it felt so beautiful to come to life, but most importantly, to come to life because of myself. To make that commitment and love to me, not to a man. New Year's Eve, my mom and I this time found ourselves in RL Restaurant, one of the nicest places in Chicago. I thought, you know what, let's go to a beautiful place and call in fortune and money and just comfort, everything we want in our life. Let's call that in, all right? You want to be rich? Be around the rich. You want to celebrate like the rich? Celebrate around the rich, right? This is my mentality. So we go to a beautiful restaurant, get a beautiful table, and have our spot there for New Year's Eve, which was a very hard seat to get. But your girl got it, period. And we're there celebrating, being around so much. Oh my God, the vibe was just different. My mom and I are sitting there having a beautiful time. I'll post a picture from that night. And I remember even seeing parts of myself come back to life. Like there was more light in my eyes. You really do get better looking when you leave a toxic relationship and you heal yourself. Can't say that enough. I don't even look like myself in the past. I don't. You can tell it's the same person, but wow. What a difference. Still remember the waiter came out to start passing out champagne because they were going to do the countdown toast. My mom goes to the bathroom at this moment and I really wanted the champagne. So I remember when my mom walked away, I called the waiter over and I'm like, hey, could you put the champagne in a coffee cup and just hand it to me? He understood the assignment. I didn't even have to say much. He understood the assignment, went back, poured the champagne in a coffee cup, brought the coffee cup back to me. Okay. So as they're doing the countdown and everyone's raising their champagne, there I am with my coffee / champagne, with my mom sitting right across from me with her actual coffee. And then when the clock strikes 12, I was like, Happy New Year! I mean, my mom clink our glasses and I'm like, I still remember my mom being like, be careful, it's hot. And all I'm thinking to myself is like, is it? Is it really? I still remember even my mom saying, did you smell like alcohol like that? And I'm like, Mom, there's alcohol everywhere. Like, look at the room. But that toast served as so much more. It showed that I had survived year one. Year one, which is the hardest year for survivors. I had survived that. That I had fought my temptation to let my anger be used against me. Right? Like, Pan felt like he knew Faze and how to get her to react. But I didn't allow that. I had started healing myself, self-regulating, taking my power back. I had built a brand, Expired and Fabulous. I stood up to the monster that I allowed myself to be imprisoned by for years. I was shown that I had the strength to walk away from someone or something that was hurting me, that I knew wasn't good for me. I knew that I could walk away from that. I had the strength to do it, even if it was hard. Now, I want to fast forward because I feel like the journey on social media for that year could be a series in itself. Being ostracized in the community made me feel like, I was prepared in a sense for what social media had, because every day is a problem with the way that the Muslim, especially at that time. Oh, she's encouraging promiscuity. Oh, she's encouraging girls to go off and shish kebab and do this and do that. Like, which, what the fuck are you talking about? Bad role model, a bad image, a bad Arab, a bad Palestinian, a bad Muslim, a bad woman, a bad daughter. Like, oh gosh, every single day. I realized pretty early on that your intentions do not matter on social media at all. Nobody cares about your intentions. They care about what they believe to be true, period. I learned that monsters like Pan didn't just exist. They exist as social media creators, as world famous owners of brands, and so many things that would shock you about that word. Shocked me because, anyway, whole nother series in its own. If there's any specific parts of my journey as a social media influencer you would like me to discuss, please make sure to comment below. And if I'm able to do it, I absolutely will. And also, please make sure to use this opportunity to subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed. There's so much to come. You want to subscribe. Do it. But make sure that you turn on your notifications so that you know when I post new content. Fast forward 2017, I didn't hear anything from Pan at all. And anybody who even tried to tell me anything about him, they were cut off. I don't want anything to do with you. If you're going to sit around telling me about him or trying to show me pictures or anything, bye, you're done. Like, no joke. I had a no Pan zone. No Pan zone. You took a risk of starting a conversation or trying to just test the waters, you got blocked. That was the last time you were seeing me. You'll never see me again. You'll never hear from me again. Nothing. Pan went off to Neverland and I didn't hear from him. I focused on myself that year. I focused on my healing. I focused on building my brand, and it all came to good use because at that point, the family that was also in the position that couldn't help me at that point, and myself, at that point we had all rebuilt together, and I was now able to move my family out of Pan's place, which was the best fucking feeling in the world. Oh, it was bittersweet. It was bittersweet. I mean, I cried because I was so happy that we were leaving. But then I also found myself crying because it felt like closing a chapter that, of course, I should have been in. I was very happy that it was closing out. But you're saying goodbye to a part of yourself you'll never know again. Of course, I was happy that we were leaving, but there was also, it was very bittersweet. It was very bittersweet.
Meltdown number 2 as I'm cleaning. It's happy tears, you know, it's happy and it's sad tears because I made a life for myself in that home. And I found myself. And I took control of my life. You always will be linked to the place where that happened. I wanted this more than anything. You know, a stupid part of me. And it's like, I don't even know if I'm gonna post this part. But a stupid part of me kind of thought that when we said that we were moving, that maybe he might reach out with some sort of apology for everything he did and everything that happened. So stupid. It wouldn't even matter. You know, if he said that, I would just, being very honest with you, I would just look at it like, haha. So I don't know what it would matter if he reached out, but I guess just to see the words, I'm sorry.
I may have been moved out at that point for a few months when Pan flew back from Neverland and tried to come right back into my life. He sends a message saying that he misses me, that he's so sorry for everything that happened, that he had been following my journey on social media and was so proud of everything that I had accomplished, and that he was so proud of who I become, and that he was so sorry for how things had turned out and sorry about the type of boyfriend that he was, and he wished that he would have been able to do better. When he was sending emails, I was like, the petty side of me was like, fuck you, yeah, I'm glad. I felt so vengeful, so angry. And I realized what a monster I could be, too. That type of hate that you feel towards another individual is only felt as an opposite to love. Like when somebody says, I hate those people or that person, but they don't know anything about that person, they've never built memories with that person, there's never been any past between them. That's stupid. Like, you're stupid. But when you have loved someone and invested time, energy, soul, everything into that person, that place, that thing, and you're betrayed by it, it hurts you. The opposite of that love is hate. I remember reading that message and several others that he sent afterwards, and I ignored it. Ignore. I had no desire to reach. I had no desire to respond. I knew I was done. Even if it touched me, like I'm like, wow, I would have loved to hear this at one point. I would have loved to have heard him say this at one point. The part of me that was moving on was like, I don't care anymore though. Thank you, but I don't care. This is not getting a response ever. I even remember at one point him talking about like, do you remember that evening with Buzzcut Season? And you know the song Buzzcut Season by Lorde? That's an old song, by the way. That's not a new song. I know it's popular on TikTok now, but that's actually an older song. He had a red pill, like the Beats pill, that he had music playing on, and he put it inside his pocket so that we can get divvy bikes and ride through the city. And we were going like up and down, just a very fun ride. And as we're riding through this, the chorus part in Buzzcut Season plays, and I'll never go home again. Place to call, feel it strong, favorite friend. When nothing's wrong and nothing's true, I live in a hologram with you. I hadn't remembered that in a very long time. So he brought up that memory in the hopes that it would like bring me back. But what he didn't know is he was saying it to a woman who would much rather cry about it, feel the pain, mourn that, and move on along. Move on along than ever go back. And as time went on, I think he realized that as well. So Pan sent me one last message. Once again, he said he was so sorry for how things had played out and how he wished things would have been different and how much he loved me. He sent pictures of like a video that we had together, several pictures that we had taken together. He knew that I didn't want to hear from him and that he wouldn't contact me after that day. From that point on, I would never hear from him. We both stuck to our word. I never went to go seek information about Pan. I don't want to know anything that's happening to him, but it didn't mean that people, evil people, didn't try to always throw his picture or throw details about his life to me so I can hear just to get my reaction so they can go report back. Or just to simply be evil. Because people like that exist, you guys. I know it's sad to think that, but there are people in this world who are just evil. Let me tell you, you have to be another level of evil. Another level of evil to go out of your way to try to destroy another person's mental health. And the saddest part is it's mostly women who are doing it. Because one of the saddest truths I had to come to realize that behind every guy like Pan was at least a dozen women helping him, giving him information, helping him coordinate things, telling him what they would do, how they would react, what they think my mentality is, what they think my perspective is, how I'll react behind a computer trying to destroy, trying to manipulate. Don't forget, it was prosthetic cousin who got in touch with me about going on that date because she was certain we would get along, right? Which, of course, God got her back, found out her husband was cheating on her with a man. That's a good one. Haha. I don't know what happened, ladies. What happened? What happened? When did we become each other's worst enemies? When? I mean, we're not going to figure that out here, but... Yep. That was a reality I was not prepared for, especially when I was so committed to believing that the real problem was the men. And I use that word loosely for a great many of them. Anyway, they would always find a way to try to bring him up in conversation or put his pictures here or give me details I had no reason to be knowing about whatsoever. One specific time I can recall, which was back in 2022, when I tried to be supportive of a Palestinian that was opening up a beauty salon. As I'm sitting getting my hair blow dried, the owner of the salon comes over, kneels down next to me and says, "Oh my gosh, did you see these pictures of Pan?" And I still even remember looking at her like, what the fuck, bitch? You know, like, what are you bringing this here for? And so casually, at that point, I said, you know what? I think I'm done regarding my hair. And I said that I had an emergency I had to get to. I left with my hair half done, got into my car, and as I'm sitting in that car replaying the details of the pictures that I was shown, there's one detail that I just cannot get out of my head from what I was being shown, right? And that was that in every picture, no matter where Pan was in the world, what could you see visibly clear hanging around his neck? The silver Italian chain I bought him. I felt like I won. Not only because I could look at his pictures and not feel anything. There were no tears. There was no crying. There was no helplessness. No wishing things would have been different. Nothing. None of that. But also that he would always hold on to a part of me that would be as much as he would ever get again. A trophy, in a sense, of a woman who once loved him so deeply. He was tethered to a version of me he would never have again. Clinging to a ghost that already left the building. I won. I got my freedom. My power back. I walked away. I won. And never lose faith in God, never turn my back to God, no matter how hard things got. My revenge was getting my life back. My revenge was climbing from the ashes and changing my life. Was to see me, was to love me, to protect me in the way nobody ever had before. I won.